I find that what you've learned is incredibly unifying.
Yes.
Even in our own country, where we have great division between the left and the right, the left values family, they value health, they value happiness. The right values the same things. And what I find really interesting about knowing that is I can have a conversation with somebody who has a different set of beliefs than I do and find common ground.
Correct.
Tell me about your family.
Yes.
What do you do to stay healthy? What fills you with a sense of happiness? Those are the things that I value too. Do you mind if I tell you about those things as well? I find this incredibly unifying, a way to find common ground. And that's what's so exciting about what you've learned.
Well, you know, Don, you remind me of this 3-step process that I suggest people engage in as a trust builder. It works in oddly enough, it works in families. You think, well, we already know each other. We already trust each other. It works. You will deepen the trust in your own family. You can do it in families. You can do it in a business setting, a nonprofit setting, anything, whatever your world's life is, you can do this. You can actually do the values exercise. It's a 3-step process, builds trust, deepens trust that might already have been built. And step 1 is self-awareness, which is, who am I ideally? The values exercise will tell you ideally who you are. Self-disclosure. You know, Don, I want to tell you who I am ideally. You know, ideally, I want to be the guy that you see honors his family. You see this family guy, and you see a happy guy. You see a guy who's trying to get wise, who's trying to learn some things. You see a guy who behaves with integrity. You see a guy that does things of service for other people every day. You see that. And you see this guy that seems to care about his health as he approaches age 73. That's now self-awareness. Who am I ideally? Self-disclosure. I want to tell you who I am. And the 3rd step, and you can do the 3rd step first if you want, which is discovery. I'd like to discover who you are. And I want to talk about it. Now, you and I picked some of the same values, but when we talk about it, we'll say some different stuff. Oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. Oh, you know, and that conversation all gets back to this interpersonal effectiveness, which people value. Now, what's happening is we've gotten confused by how fast things can happen through the use of technology. And so we've become very efficient, but have sacrificed relationship effectiveness in our efficiency.
We don't want to put in the work.
Right. Relationship is about getting to know people. And as Stephen Covey would say in the 7 Habits, seek to understand, then to be understood.
Well, and that's what I was getting at too, is once somebody with different beliefs, I'm sitting down with somebody with different beliefs than what I have, I can seek to understand. Tell me about your family. How do you love them? How do you care for them? You know, what's meaningful for you there? Then I can understand them, but I have to be curious and I have to be non-judgmental.
The message that we get is that humanity, we can't outrun it. So we will be emotional all our lives. And the opportunity to understand our values gives us an opportunity to reflect. You know, I have a tool that we encourage people to use when they recognize their emotional state. And it starts with that. It's called the 4 R's and recognizes it. Start there. If I recognize my emotional state, let's say I'm scared to death. I'm like, wow, I'm scared. You know, I recognize I'm scared. Or I recognize I'm really excited. Either one, I'm recognizing my state. Once I recognize my state, if I'm emotionally charged, I need to understand that my physical, biological state is compromised relative to decision making. So I'm going to show a picture. For those who are watching, I'll do it with circles in the air, and for those who are listening, I'll just describe it. And it's this: think of reality as a combination of three things: cognitive thought, emotion, and physical experience. So right now, our viewers and our listeners and you and I are all thinking. We are all experiencing emotions, whether we know it or don't. And we are all having a physical experience. That's reality. So if you look at that in the form of a triangle, so you've got cognitive thought and I put a circle here. You've got cognitive thought up here. On the lower left, what you have is emotions. And on the lower right, what you have is physicality, physical experience, breathing, waving your hands, putting a pen to your face, whatever it is, the physical reality. When our reality is stimulated from the outside, it stimulates us emotionally first. That's the biology. That's true for 8,200,000,000 people. Everybody. You don't get to opt out. You don't get to say, I'm out. No, you're in. You're in. And that was, and it's our first line of defense. So emotional intelligence is real, but it is not cognitive. Our emotions exist independent from cognitive thought. So when something happens outside of myself, somebody wrote a book, Who Moved My Cheese? So somebody moves my cheese. All the cheese was moved. And let's say you and I are working together and somebody moves our cheese. You ran a company there where cheeses were moved all the time, not by your company, but by companies you surveyed. And somebody moved the cheese and not everybody felt the same about it. And so that's the outside stimuli. That'll stimulate us emotionally first. And we're wired to live. We're animals. We're wired to live. And we're wired to live long enough for our species to keep living. Not every one of us, but as a species, our humanity. That's the deal. And so emotions are telling us potentially, is there an opportunity out there that I want to pursue so I can live another day? Or is there a danger I want to avoid so that I could live another day? And so the emotion is the first line, the first intelligence, the emotion. It's not cognitive yet. So something happens, bam, within 12 milliseconds. 12 milliseconds is faster than I can say. I can't say 12 in 12 milliseconds. 12 milliseconds, there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. That's really, really fast. Now, if what happens is whatever happens scares me, like a lot of people, a lot of things are happening right now in the world, all over the world, and here in the domestic United States where I happen to be, a lot of things are happening right in our own country, and some of things are scaring people. And that fear compromises one's ability to be rational, because that fear is saying you might be in danger. And think of the word emotion. It comes from a Latin words, but I won't get into the Latin, but I will say it's feel it, mote, do it. And I'm going to introduce for our viewers and listeners a new word, think, motion. So as soon as you recognize you're emotionally charged, don't mote. Don't go from to motion. Go to to thought. That's the second R. Reflect on what? Your values. The process of reflecting on your values will engage your cognitive brain and increase the probability that you won't make an irrational mistake. Irrational decision making trumps high IQ every time. So this isn't about how smart you are. This is about how able you are to access how smart you are. So let's say somebody does something that angers me. Somebody does something, I'll use anger instead of fear. So I'm now angry. Now there's a lot of things that I can do with that anger. Some people say, I was so angry with my daughter, I had to strike her. That's not true. That would suggest anger causes that. Anger is not a cause, it's a stimulus. So between anger and response, I have time to think. I can reflect. Oh yeah, I value family. That was my number one value. Now I can reframe. Maybe that idea of striking her was not a good one. And now I can respond and avoid striking her. Now, so the concept, when I get really good at this, I avoid regretful behavior. Now, most of us, most of your viewers, probably all of yours, everybody watching your show or listening, I'm guessing every one of us, we all are nice people, basically. And when we do something we wished we hadn't, we say we're sorry. This is designed to head off the I'm sorry. So if I can recognize, but what I say to people, if you like saying you're sorry, do this. Just say, you know what? I just wanted you to know, Don, I was about to yell at you, but I decided not to. And I would have apologized. And I just want you to know I would have been sorry if I yelled at you, but I'm glad I didn't. So for those of you that like to apologize, you can still do it.